Today, Irv Maze and I are going to again show why we're different from the other candidates. We are introducing yet another one of our bold policy announcements, coming up with innovative ideas to tackle Kentucky's most enduring problems in a very specific way, to again demonstrate that our campaign is about a little less conversation and a little bit more action. Today we're going to tackle one of our greatest moral obligations as a state government. There's no principle that is more enduring in the American tradition than the notion from the Declaration of Independence that all of us are created equal. But in order to provide that equal opportunity for all of our children, no matter what their income level, no matter what their background, no matter what region of the state they come from, it's essential that they are provided with an equal opportunity to a good education, starting with preschool going all the way through higher education. For years, for decades, we've heard politicians promise improvements in our education system, yet time and time again they fail to solve the problems once they're elected. Kentucky doesn't need more talk, we need more action. Kentuckians deserve better. And Irv Maze and I both have records of practical policy solving approaches to these issues. With me, it was in the form of our prepaid tuition program, CAPT, which made it easier for 9,000 families to afford college for their kids and grandkids. With Irv, it was taking new and innovative approaches to cracking down on the growing truancy rates in Jefferson County Public Schools, which he was able to decrease significantly. In addition, Trey Grayson and I, in a bipartisan proposal, have co-authored a plan called Cradle to College, which would start every child in the state with a college savings account, and with those of lesser means, have matching funds from the state to ensure that each child would have the guarantee of at least 2 years of higher education. As governor, though, the problem is larger than simply higher education. We are approaching an important milestone, and during a Miller-Maze administration, we will be celebrating the 20th anniversary of the Kentucky Education Reform Act, KERA, which for many years has been a great source of pride for Kentucky and standing out as one of the first major educational reform acts in the country, something copied by many other states. But there have been a lot of problems with it, and particularly problems with abandoning its major themes as were outlined almost 20 years ago. It's the duty of the governor to protect and foster the educational growth of all of our children, to give them the keys to success from a youngest age, and we must maintain that commitment when they enter the workforce. And that's why it's time now to take a top-to-bottom look at KERA and come up with plans to make sure that every child has that equal opportunity for education. Now, Irv and I today are introducing our new education plan, which is called DESK. DESK stands for Delivering Educational Success to Kentucky. It focuses on the basics with practical approaches like making sure that we do pay attention to teaching areas that are easily measured by test scores, like reading and math. But we must not stop there. Too often in our education system, we are focused on accountability for the sake of accountability, particularly with the mandates of the No Child Left Behind Act being imposed on Kentucky. We are often finding teachers being forced to teach to the test as opposed to being focused on quality education. And that's why, as part of our DESK initiative, we want to not only simply improve reading scores, but we also want to teach our kids how to write creatively and write coherently. We not only want to teach our kids math to be able to pass math tests, but also how to apply math and science to the 21st century economy jobs. We want to teach our youngest to be good citizens and through the value of community service and civic engagement. And we also want to ensure that all of our children get a good education in the arts and music because, as every study shows, there's a clear correlation between arts and music participation and student achievement. And we need to start with working with our children in their infancy. Early learning initiatives in other states, usually based on the United Way's Success by Six program, bring communities together in public-private coalitions for learning to begin at birth. And it fits upon the basic principles and structure of KERA, as it calls for parental education and community partnerships for support. With CARA in this top-to-bottom approach, we need to also make sure that we've got our funding mechanism right. The SEEK formula has been under a lot of criticism recently because, as developed years ago, it does not necessarily match the growth patterns in our states. And the high-growth counties are having particular trouble maintaining funding to meet their levels of growth. And so a top-to-bottom look and figuring out how we can distribute those funds more equitably will be something to ensure that all of our children get the quality education they need. Success for SIX, it employs the notion that prevention is better than intervention and less costly. A study in Michigan found that for every dollar invested in early learning, $17 are saved down the road with less poverty and crime, higher levels of income and education, and fewer single parents. And the greatest thing that we can do by modeling an early learning initiative on what other states are doing is that we can fund them basically by using services that already exist throughout state government. We simply have to bring those services in departments like Education and Health and Family Services together to make sure these departments work together to ensure common goals and outcomes. And we will rely again on public, private, and community partnerships, implementation, and educational efforts to make early learning work. We have schools in the state without basic facilities like lunchrooms. To me, that's unacceptable. We have to make sure our schools have basic facility needs met, and by the end of our first term, our classrooms must be internet ready and accessible. We'll invest in technology improvements so that in this information age, our students can actually get the information they need to be successful. I support the legislators' initiative to bring teacher pay in line with the national average, or at least comparable to our neighboring states. That will increase the number of highly skilled teachers, and more college students will choose to become teachers. An important focus in this area has to be recruitment of more teachers in math, science, and technology. We will invest in continuing education for teachers in those disciplines, and we will provide assistance with student loans for teachers in those areas and in special education where we need more teachers. Because with opportunity comes responsibility. There's a catch. Teachers who seek loan assistance will commit to 5 years of work in at-risk, low-income, and high-poverty areas. Some of our school districts are in areas of high poverty and face high rates of teen suicide, high dropout rates, and higher incidence of teen pregnancy. We must place a stronger emphasis on these districts so we don't lose them, these children. Our plan calls for school-based health centers to provide critical medical and behavioral care to students, and we will launch the first ones of these in these neediest areas. Now, I know what your first question is going to be: how will you pay for this? Let me first let me go through this. First of all, most of these items in our desk plan don't cost any new money. They simply require changing the way that we do things in state government. Second, they also require changing the way that our school districts are allocating money, and we need to make sure that the school districts are held accountable for spending money where it's supposed to be spent, to focus on student learning and quality education. For the portions of this plan which will require a bit of funding, we will first of all again look to the expanded gaming revenues, which we've said before would be dedicated to health care and to education. And again, we'll work with our congressional delegation to ensure that the federal government pays its fair share, and will bring communities together to make things work. Again, besides working with our congressional delegation, we are going to establish public-private partnerships and coalitions, including civic and faith-based organizations. Central to this notion is that prevention is less costly than intervention, and it will cost more if we do nothing at all. With that, let me turn it over to you for your questions.